Coach Tierney's Pioneers dressed primarily in white with the crimson and gold trim. Virginia in the blue and orange. And the face-off won by Garrett Ince of Virginia. Momentarily, Cavaliers never did gain full possession. And Chase Carrero, who was the face-off man and a very good one for Denver, wound up with the ball. Now it's Jeremy Noble, 45, part of a great first midfield unit for the Pioneers.
Virginia starts this game in a zone defense. They will mix and match a man and a zone.
Carrero, diminutive sophomore out of Louisville, Kentucky. He has great speed. Todd Baxter now behind the cage, a playmaker. This is Alex Demopoulos. Cam Flint, one of 3 Canadians playing today for the University of Denver Pioneers.
I got 2.
Jeremy Noble, and now Demopoulos again, a junior from Canton, Connecticut, out in front. Matthews with the first shot of the game, and a nice save by Adam Gittleman, senior veteran, in the goal for the University of Virginia. Chris LaPierre in the attack area, and a nice pass, a shot down low, stopped nicely by Jamie Faust, the freshman. Denver trying to counterattack quickly. Demopoulos did a good job to stay on his feet. Andrew Lay, one of the captains, his pass was dropped by Jeremy Noble. Denver turned it over. Rob Emery, freshman out of San Francisco, the other way for Virginia.
This first 5 minutes is really key for Denver. You want to get your first run, get the adrenaline out, settle down, find your game. You know, make a hit, make a play, and settle down. Right now, the Pioneers, without experience, showing a couple sloppy mistakes.
Steele Stanwyck. And here are Quince Keys for the University of Virginia.
Signature of a Cavalier team is going to be ground ball dominance. Gain a possession edge by scooping up loose balls. And then a tight zone defense. And you got to get probably a dozen or 15 stops from Adam Gittleman.
Jamie Faust, the freshman goalie, credited with another save as Stanwyck stepped to the front of the net. Now Chris Bocklett, prolific goal scorer. He scored a goal in 34 straight games for Virginia.
Kick left.
Bocklett's a junior. For the moment, Stanwyck's moved out in front of the net. No score, nearly 3 minutes gone by here in Baltimore with the temperature in the high 80s and the sun out brightly right now. Nick O'Reilly, generally their 4th attackman. Shot and a score by Stanwyck. Moved from his comfortable spot behind the net, stepped out in front and sent it past Jamie Faust, and Virginia's first on the board.
Stanwyck's been on fire in the NCAA tournament. In the last 3 games, this will be his 22nd point. You take a poor angle and a poor approach, he's going to make you pay. It's amazing to watch this kid. I wouldn't label him as the fastest in the country nor the quickest, but he creates angles and he capitalizes on every single mistake. You could call him the smartest.
Local player from right down the road here in Baltimore, grew up about 5 minutes away near the Johns Hopkins campus. Chase Carrero won the faceoff cleanly and got a good shot on Gittleman, who made his second save. Battle for possession, won by the Cavaliers.
Gittleman is exceptional out of the goal.
Here's Chris LaPierre, great athlete. And now Virginia will set up its offense, leading 1-0. We got a note just before the game that Colin Briggs, who's a member of the first midfield unit for Virginia, is not playing. Coach's decision. No details, and no Eamon will try to sniff that out on the sideline, but that's a big loss for Virginia. He's their 3rd leading goal scorer in the year with 24.
And leading midfield producer. So you go back to the beginning of the season, Shamel Bratton, Ramel Bratton, Colin Briggs. Three of the best, three of the most explosive in the country. None playing for the Cavaliers this afternoon.
There's Mark Cockerton now, ordinarily part of their second midfield unit. Sends it out in front for a goal by Chris Bocklett. So that's 35 straight games with a goal for Bocklett. The best active goal scoring streak in the nation is extended by the junior from South Salem, New York.
This is the ideal start for Virginia. See a little seal inside, little inside-outside action, and Bocklett just steps to the outside, catch one cradle, snaps it by Faust. The efficiency of motion for Chris Bocklett is outstanding. Bill Tierney right now has got to be pondering a timeout. His team does not look comfortable yet.
Torero on the face-off with Brian McDermott. So Stanwyck unassisted, and Bocklett assisted by Mark Cockerton. Goals on the last two shots for Virginia, and they take over off the face-off. Let's look at Quint's keys to the game for Denver.
You must defend Steele Stanwyck and Chris Bocklett. They've become really the focal point of this Cavalier offense, and then manage the moment. And quite frankly, at this point, they are not managing the moment.
In their first appearance, the championship weekend. As Quint mentioned at the top of the telecast, Denver's been a Division I program for just 12 years, since 1999. This is the fourth time they've made the NCAA tournament. They had never won a tournament game prior to this year. They hosted the first tournament game ever west of the Mississippi and beat Villanova in the first round. There's a shot by Rob Emery, the freshman, and Faust held his ground.
Excellent stop by Faust, who's got really, really good hands. That's the strength of his game right now. He was the single reason why Denver was able to beat Duke earlier this season, kind of the turning point in their year.
Alex Demopoulos. Now Todd Baxter, who's been playing in the NCAA tournament on a bad leg at a high ankle sprain, the partially torn MCL. Suffered in their ECAC championship game win over Fairfield. Didn't play in that game against Villanova. Did return to take part in their quarterfinal win over Johns Hopkins. Shot and a goal by Andrew Lay, one of the team captains. Senior from Denver, trying to avoid playing in the final game of his Pioneer career. He rifled one past Adam Gittleman, and Denver's on the board. It's 2-1.
He's the Pioneers' best outside shooter. Broke his jaw earlier this year. Had it wired shut. But Coach Tierney told us this week on our conference call, that Lay's a guy he was going to insert into the game because of the velocity of his outside shot. And he'll stretch that zone.
He's just now getting back to full strength after sitting out with the broken jaw. He had a goal last week against Hopkins as well. Chase Guerrero wins another face-off. He's at nearly 59% for the year, 13th in the country. Trying to rifle a shot. Handled easily by Gittleman. Here's LaPierre on the clear by himself. Just swatted Jeremy Noble away like a gnat. Nick O'Reilly in behind the net to Bocklett. And now Matt White has it back from Steele Stanwyck, sophomore from Ridgefield, Connecticut.
I can't hear you.
Stanwyck, where he's most comfortable.
All right.
Stanwyck still with it. Watched closely by an excellent defender, Jeff Brown, with the pole. Senior out of Cohasset, Massachusetts. Beautiful seaside town just south of Boston. Rob Emery forced back. Matt White now working on Emerson Eichler. Eichler's part of the core unit of that Denver team, according to Coach Tierney. Their defensive midfield's outstanding. Matt White, nice pass, and a goal. Easy goal for Nick O'Reilly, the sophomore. Just his 7th goal of the year. And he's been coming on lately. He had 2 goals and an assist in their quarterfinal upset win over Cornell. And he has Virginia's 3rd goal this afternoon in the national semis.
Virginia offensive coordinator Mark Van Arsdale has done an incredible job with this group, changing as the season's gone along. 2-man play. The ball carrier, White, 4 in blue, draws the double team with a nice finalizer move right there. There's no help down the backside, and O'Reilly is wide open on that back post. Terrific 2-man play by the Cavaliers.
So Virginia leads 3-1, despite the fact that Chase Carrero of Denver's won 3 of the 4 faceoffs.
Respect that line, thank you.
And Clint, you mentioned the change engineered by the offensive coordinator Mark Van Arsdale and Coach Starsia. Virginia controls this draw. Brian McDermott won at that time. Made necessary by the roster depletions during the year. They had 2 of the best midfield players in the country in Shamel Bratton and his brother Ramel Bratton. Shamel was dismissed from the team in late April after a couple of incidents during the year. Ramel was suspended, and then Coach Starsia made the decision not to reinstate him. So they've played 4 games without both of them, and they've won all 4, in part because they went from a midfield-oriented attack with the Braddons to Steele Stanwyck running the show. And Steele Stanwyck is running it very well. He charged to the net and scored again for Virginia.
This is the most difficult call for these officials. And he'll want an explanation. Stanwyck's fought through the foot injury all season long. He's got his legs back and his burst. Damage control right now for Coach Bill Tierney.
Who's hollering at the officials? Brian Abbott, John Hill, Kevin O'Leary are the officials, some of the best in the country, working this first national semifinal game.
Take a look, you make the call. Is it a push and then a goal? Is it a crease violation? Leans in, gets good leverage. This is the absolute toughest call from these officials.
How come?
Well, because it's a tough call. Is it a push? Was it from the side? Was it from the back? Was the ball in the goal? Was he heading to the crease? Would he have gone in there if contact wasn't made? There's a lot of different factors. The refs seem to be pretty clear on that call right away.
The goal stands. 2 goals in 39 seconds for Virginia. They've scored on 4 of their last 5 shots. 2 goals already for Steele Stanwyck. 4-1 Virginia very early here in Baltimore. We're at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, the home of the Baltimore Ravens of the National Football League, hosting the championship weekend for college lacrosse for the 5th straight year. Bill Tierney very upset. Meanwhile, let's look back at how these teams got here. Virginia rallied from 3 goals down in the 4th quarter to beat Bucknell 13-12 in a home game in their first round matchup. Then they upset the 2nd seed Cornell 13-9. They scored 9 straight goals at one point in the first half. Stanwyck had 3 goals. Denver hosting the first tournament game ever west of the Mississippi. They rallied to beat Villanova. They were down 8-5 at one point, won 13-10. Mark Matthews with 3 goals. And then it was Denver and Johns Hopkins on Long Island. Denver prevailed 14-9. Todd Baxter and Cameron Flint 3 goals each to lead the Pioneers. Bill Tierney still upset. You think it's the point that you were raising on the last goal?
Yeah, I do think that he wanted some explanation as to why that wasn't a dive. Here's our storyline. Dom Starsia, 327 wins. He leads Division I in that category. Stanwyck's on a tear in the tournament. Denver's first appearance in championship weekend. Coach Tierney's got 299 career wins overall.
Here we go.
And it's interesting, John Danowski, the Duke coach, will play next against Maryland, also has 299 career wins. So we have 2 coaches with a chance for a big milestone here today. Chase Carrero and Garrett Ince on the face-off. And Jeremy Noble came in to scoop up the ground ball. He's had a terrific NCAA tournament. You could make the argument that Noble, freshman midfielder, has been their best player in their 2 wins.
And Denver's early offense, right off of face-off wins, is lethal. Carrero's got offensive skills. They put 2 offensive middies on the wings with Cam Flint and Jeremy Noble, and they attack right away. So if Virginia loses a draw, they've got to get in and stop that initial rush.
Denver's had the edge on ground balls and face-offs, but it's Virginia out shooting them and outscoring them.
2 down! Right! Fight side right, Vince!
Cameron Flint sent it up high to fellow Canadian Jeremy Noble. Now Eric Law, sophomore attackman from Centennial, Colorado. Transferred back home. He was playing at D3 Salisbury just down the road here in Maryland.
Pass it!
Long way to go in Denver. A prolific offensive team, averaging more than 12 goals per game.
Overload right! Pass!
Denver's averaged 13.5 goals per game in their wins over Villanova and Johns Hopkins here in the tournament. There's a shot and a goal. Great shot by Jeremy Noble. Quick release. He had 6 points in their opening round win against Villanova, and he scores a big goal for the still seething Coach Tierney on that Denver sideline.
Nice little cut. Keep your eye on Jeremy Noble. Roll it a bit here. Okay, freeze it right now. Here, this is Noble right here. As we roll it now, you watch what he does. He sets a little kind of a fake little pick here in Matthews, and then he just finds a soft spot, rolls to the inside, and makes that crease defender, who is right in front of Adam Gittleman, stretch all the way out. Made that kind of a long move for that defender to make. The ball carrier was occupying the top center guy in the zone, and he kind of just sat. It would almost be like a high post at the foul line in basketball.
Damn!
Brian McDermott, and the X for Virginia, and Chase Carrero again for Denver. McDermott stepped away. Flags fly. Henry Makeda delivered the pop, and Denver's going to be penalized. Nick O'Reilly gets it to the right man, steals Stanwyck. Already with 2 goals today. One of 5 finalists for the Tuarton, the award that goes to the best player in the country. They don't vote on that until after this championship weekend. Most assume Rob Pennell of Cornell is the leading candidate, but Stanwyck a chance to impress more voters. Crease violation gets the whistle, and now the penalty called against Denver.
35 Denver. Legal body check, hit to the head, 1 minute, full time.
It was Henry Makeda right off the face-off. Junior from Fort Collins, Colorado. Bill Tierney is legendary for many things in college lacrosse, including for the damage he's done to eardrums of officials over the years, and he's on top of that game right out of the chute here today. Now, there are a lot of people who believe he tends to get the calls from all the working he does on the officials. Matter of fact, Villanova in that first round game was called for 7 penalties. Denver hadn't been penalized until the final minute of the game. Another 38 seconds with the man-up unit for Virginia. They're the #1 man-up team in the country, and they're adding to their stats. Rob Emery with the goal. Virginia better than 53% for the season when a man-up coming in, and they're 1 for 1 today. It's 5-2 as Emery rifled one home. 13th of the year for the freshman, one of the top recruits in the country coming out of San Francisco last year.
Yeah, you see the lob pass. Watch Emery, 24 in blue, set his feet, straight overhand, and paint the corner. This kid has as smooth a shooting stroke as I've seen. Look at this, high to high, That ball rattles off the crossbar and in. A superstar of the future is Rob Emery from San Francisco. Just gorgeous release, and he's tall, 6'3", so he gets great leverage.
It's great to hear from San Francisco, attached to a lacrosse player. Denver's presence here, guys like Emery from parts of the country not historically thought of as lacrosse areas, reflect the tremendous growth in this sport. There are now 21 states that have high school lacrosse recognized by state federations. This Denver team has players from 17 different states, a player from the District of Columbia, and 3 from Canada. It is a sport that is rapidly spreading throughout the country. Andrew Lay has already scored a goal.
Get a 2-on!
Demopoulos back for Jeremy Noble. Cam Flint.
Eagle!
Flint out in front, and it's taken away from Mark Matthews. Chris Clements cross midfield for Virginia. Room now for Chris LaPierre, walking to the top of the crease, and he sent one over the net. Matt White thought he was nearest, but the officials say no.
LaPierre, 2-end midfielder, basically does it all. If it was up to Dom Starja, he'd play the full 60 minutes. It's interesting on that last possession, Sean, Virginia went to a man-to-man defense, and it took Denver a little kind of getting used to. So they're doing a nice job of mixing the zone and the man.
Interesting to hear Dom Starja talk about playing zone defense and other the changes he made this year. Said sometimes it pains me to stand on the sideline and watch us play zone defense. They played more of it this year than his first 18 years at Virginia combined. But again, made necessary. You talked about Matt Lovejoy, would have been their best defender. Went out at mid-season with a shoulder injury, will not return. And that made some changes necessary.
And when they started using it against North Carolina this year and late in the season, it wasn't as tight as it is now. They've really done a good job of collapsing the middle, denying the paint, defending the paint, and keeping shooters on the perimeter. And Adam Gittleman can make those stops.
Andrew Lay. Behind the net for Todd Baxter. He's from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. The senior. Carrero, so quick. Shot it high and wide. Chase Carrero, sophomore from Louisville, Kentucky. He looks like he could be a stick boy when you meet him as we did yesterday. Very youthful looking college sophomore.
And what a great story out of St. X in Louisville. A high school club program where the athletes have to pay for the refs and for field space. There's about 23 teams right now in Kentucky who play high school lacrosse, and St. X and Trinity, the 2 best.
His older brother, Casey, one of the first high school players in the state of Kentucky. A shot by Eric Law, and now the Cavaliers the other way. Wyatt Meltzer, who's played more since they went to that zone defense. Wasn't a terrific man-to-man defender, but tends to get in the passing lanes when they play zone. Under a minute to go, first quarter, first national semifinal of this Saturday in Baltimore. 5-2 Virginia. They have not turned the ball over in this first quarter. Mark Cockerton, freshman from Oshawa, Ontario. His dad, Stan, legendary player in Canada in the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame.
Listen to me here. Keep it in.
Stall warning now against Virginia. Cockerton's shot, and Virginia will play it with 14 seconds to go in the first quarter. Keep it in, still in effect. And now chance for Denver on the first Virginia turnover. Final seconds, they go for the long pass that does not connect as Matthews couldn't corral it. And that's the end of the first quarter. 2 goals for Steele Stanwick. Tom Starsia and Virginia. They've lost in the national semifinals each of the last 3 years. Can their seniors make it to the title game? They're off to a good start today. All right, Anish. And Paul, thank you very much. Welcome back, everybody, to the national semifinals from Baltimore, presented by Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Sean McDonough with Quinn Kesnick and Eamon McEnany. We talked about the depletions of the Virginia roster, and it seems like with each player they lose, the better they play. Colin Briggs, a late scratch for undisclosed reasons. Virginia said they'll have comment after today's game. And we mentioned that neither of the great midfielders, Shamel Bratton or Ramel Bratton, on the team anymore. But we're seeing that new look Virginia offense work to perfection so far today.
The Brattons were both exceptional individual players, but this offense now is working because it's a team offense, and in many ways it's been addition by subtraction when the Brattons left. They're flowing better, they're sharing the ball, and they've played with a renewed energy and chemistry.
Brian McDermott's been doing a good job lately on face-offs for Virginia, but they can't retain possession. Steve Simonetti took it away. Now Cameron Flint. Looked like Denver wanted to strike quickly, but Mark Matthews dropped the pass. Tried to flick it along the ground. He lost it. Great work by Bobby Hill.
2-2, push, take a foul, 30 seconds.
And a push called. It was against Denver.
Number 22, Denver, push, 30 seconds. Number 22.
Mark Matthews.
30 seconds, guys, 30 seconds.
Lost the ball. A little upset with himself as he goes off.
This is a tough foul to take. You're riding, you're trying hard, trying to make a play, but you're not using your head there. The risk